All right, final segment this morning. Pete Geiger's with us. He's editor of the Farmers Almanac. Here it is. The 2023 edition is out. It is available now. And Pete, it's great that you came on because yesterday I was messing around in my backyard and I got nailed by a wasp, okay, right there on the wrist. You can't see it, all my arm, but my whole arm swelled up and it's going down slowly now. I'm glad it didn't get any worse than that. But you actually have 10 unusual but useful bug bite remedies. All right, which is good. You know, these days, here's the thing, Pete. People can Google just about anything. Oh, bug bite, what do I do? And you can get that, and I suppose on the internet you can find about anything, but what's different about what you might get from the Almanac, unless you're Googling the Almanac, that you won't get elsewhere?
I think the point is there's some easy solutions to every problem. You don't have to go to the drugstore and buy something special.
Right.
You can use toothpaste. You can use meat tenderizer. You can. I'm trying to think what some of the other ones are. I know you can use banana peels. There's 10 things that you can do when you get a bug bite that will take away the sting, if you will, and help reduce the swelling. Baking soda and a little water will do it as well. So there's 10 things that we list in this year's publication. Speaking about gardening too. By the way, if you take when you go gardening and then you're done, your fingernails are all black and stuff.
Yeah.
If before you go in the garden, take a bar of soap and you rub your fingers on the soap and then do your gardening, when you're done, you wash your hands and the soap never gets into your nails, and that's just soap and it just bubbles and goes away.
Oh, that's brilliant. Well, I had that problem, so I started wearing baseball gloves. But so you're saying get the soap and then dig your nails into the soap so you get some of the soap underneath the nails. Then when you go out there and you do your work, you wash it and the soap rinses out and the dirt never gets up in there.
Brilliant.
It's actually brilliant. You know who he'd get along with? You know who he'd get along with, Rick? Mrs. Cheap here in town. Mary Hance is wonderful. She does things like this, and she's local.
By the way, if your microwave oven is all gunkied because somebody else used it, you take a cup of water, put it there, let it go for 2 minutes, then you can wipe it all off. All the gunk is gone.
Because the water evaporates a bit and moistens whatever gunk's in there?
Moistens, it just soaks it, and then you just wipe it off.
It's like a steam bath. That's awesome. All right, come on. We've got our final segment. I wanted to, are there any special, unusual things that you'd like to share with our viewers that we haven't talked about? I mean, there's plenty more we can touch on, but just things that stand out about it in your career, unusual things, that you've come across.
Well, we always have some unusual mail. I had a guy wanting the 1823 and the 1827 almanac because there was a treasure buried somewhere in Virginia, Beaufort, Virginia, and he wanted the almanac because he thought the code was buried in the almanac, but it wasn't.
Not true.
Not true. But we had some just really great mail about all kinds of things, and what I love is that people do call us. They do have questions, and we do get to answer what we can answer, and we can't answer everything. I had a guy from Russia send me an email, and he wanted to make. I know we had an apple pie contest, so he was going to make an apple pie for his wife, and he wasn't sure what shortening was. So we went back and forth for what it is, and this is years ago. And so he made an apple pie for his wife. So here's a guy in Russia, St. Petersburg, Russia, who's communicating with me about making an apple pie, and then told me you make brownie cookies. I said, well, brownies and cookies are different. Here's a couple recipes. So those kind of exchanges I really, really like, and I would love to hear from people. I know we didn't get a lot of calls today, but there's people who are out there who are thinking about it. And if you go to a store, Tractor Supply, anywhere like that, you'll see the almanac. Pick it up, enjoy it. And as I said before, there's on the top of my webpage, there's a place called All Access that you can sign up for, get an almanac, plus have access for a year's worth of material. You get a free newsletter. And since I think we last talked, I have 5 or 6 people in the Nashville area who represent Geiger. My company is a company that sells swag, imprint merchandise.
Yeah.
So I've got 6 or so people, and actually the almanac can be purchased by a business, put their name on it, give it away, just like a calendar. And so I have a number of people in the area doing that for me. And life is really good. It changes so fast. And when I think about the almanac, and when my dad was alive, the pages were all copy text, no pictures, a few woodcuts, not very attractive by today's standards. And it's just a much more vibrant looking publication. And then you have the complications, if you will, of all the social medias, everything from TikTok to Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram. We have to continually be feeding information there because there's audiences at each level, and we want to be relevant. The only way we're going to stay alive is if we're relevant. If we're talking about things that are important. There's always an article about dogs and cats and animals because that's a big part of lives. Now, there's always an article about saving money or the whole climate thing. I haven't talked so much about global warming per se, but there is climate change. We see it. And is this going to change in a different direction? I don't know, but we can be so much more. We can be so much more helpful to what's going on around us if we just did little things.
Sure.
I think one of our articles this year, really, what can I do? I mean, I can't change, the way the climate's going, but I can do certain things. In fact, in the almanac back in the 18-something or other, it talked about droughts and it blamed it on cutting down trees. And so today, you look at all the trees that were cut down, particularly in Brazil, and what the impact has been on the climate. And back in the 1800s, they talked about the same thing. The droughts were caused because people cut down all the trees. It's not quite that simple, but that's I love the tidbits from old almanacs because it talked about what people were thinking about. And I think today we're doing the same thing. We're not telling people what to do or even advising them, except how do you save money? How do you extend the life of clothing? There's an article about leftover clothes, what you do. Apparently, all the clothes that you bring to the thrift stores, only 10 to 25% of it actually gets used. The rest gets thrown away. But you can take clothing and you can actually repurpose it. You can actually compost it. You can put it in your garden, particularly things that are caught. You put it in your garden, kill the weeds. There's a lot of things you can do if you just take the time to do it. And as we said in our letter to the editor, stop and smell the flowers. Yeah. Just stop and enjoy it. But we're on this spin right now that is just so unfortunate because life can be good. And I think the almanac addresses or tries to address how life can be simple, not old-fashioned, not backwards, but
simple. And if you read it, it'll make you smile. You know what's interesting? Just talking to you, you can tell you pour your heart and soul into this. And the whole idea is, you mentioned, I mean, your father was the editor. You succeeded him, but he had already preordained that you would have to replace him at age 7. I like this. That among other things, he's, oh son, I really want to pass this on and have you take over on this. But your father told you that no editor ever died under the age of 86. Which you're not 86 yet, of course, but
no.
That sounded like good enough reason for you to go into it and follow in his footsteps after you graduated from Villanova?
Yes, well, I'm 7 years old, but he's pounding away. You got to be the editor because, and then finally the key to the whole thing was that no editor dies before 86. Now, he died at 83. Oh. He blew it. He blew it up. But he had such a passion for the almanac that the last person somebody told me that he'll be the last person you see, and sure enough, at 3 a.m, he was in a hospice. I got a call to go over there, and there I am, and he passes away, and there I am.
Yeah, wow.
He was uniquely special, and he loved people, and he loved the book. And when he took it over, the circulation was 86,000 copies in 1935, and at its peak, it was 6.5 million copies, all given away by businesses all over the country. Hundreds of thousands of almanacs given away, particularly by banks. And of course, banks don't have the branches that they don't want you coming in anymore, not like they were. But the almanac served a purpose, and it still does. So we're retail, we are given away by businesses, we are online, we have social media, any way you want it. So we just have to keep finding ways to make sure that our brand is consistent.
That's the trick. That's the trick. As we rack things up, the almanac's going to be with us hopefully for another 100 years. You know as well as I do, with the way things have changed, so many publications have just gone the way of the dodo bird. And the almanac has a real, I think, I don't know, it's just recognized and known, and it's survived. And I'm sure you've had, your tough times, but it's stable enough. You've got the circulation, the spread. You believe it'll continue for years to come?
Absolutely, I do. I actually have buried a time capsule. I put it in my museum in 2017, which is my 200th edition, and I opening it in 25 years, or somebody's going to open it in 25 years, and I put all this material in this that represented 2017, and I wrote a note. The note was basically that we had this Hurricane Andrew, and Hurricane this, and Hurricane that, and every time there was a natural disaster, people in 2017 rise to the occasion to help their fellow man or woman. And so, and then what I said in my note is, I'm sure there will be natural disasters in 2042, and I hope that people in that time period are just as compassionate as they were in 2017. And that was basically my message: is let's hope that we still have that human instincts in us 25 years from that date.
Amen to that. Hey, listen, Peter, it's always good having a conversation. We got a call there, but I think a lot of people sit back on a program like this and listen and learn, and I hope a lot of them take some time to go get themselves a Farmers Almanac or end up signing up and following it online as well. And it's always good talking to you up in Maine. Thanks for getting up with us this morning, and I wish you all the best. Hopefully we'll talk to you again next year, all right?
I hope so. Thanks very much to everybody who's listening. Thank you.
All right, Peter. Take care. Take care of yourself. All right, we're going to wrap things up, take a break, be back right after this with a programming net. Thanks again, Peter.